Hello everyone, I'm Sirival, and today we're gonna continue reading World and Economica. Hmm, by the way, 1 second. Not like it's important, but still. So, in stream before previous one, I was kinda thinking what everything going too well, and I was thinking what we get some red flags, but apparently I was wrong, since in previous stream, so everything was quite alright. Mm, like uh, guy from Schrödinger stream actually was okay. I still not sure if he is good guy or not. Maybe he just normal guy. Um, so a big guy with Chris actually was her dad, and they give their money for Haru, and everything working. And I believe we stop on the moment when more people actually start giving to Haru and Hagana their money to make profit. Let's load. Yeah, it's exactly this place. Um, so yeah, there is not a lot to discuss for now. I guess we're gonna see later on in the story if everything continue be so good or maybe not. Anyway, let's continue reading. Um, Since our performance was enough to make Chris' legs give out, it was no surprise that more and more folks showed up to discuss similar deals. They were acquaintances of Chris and her dad, who, not surprisingly, owned the Tayama money. Among them were many of whom Lisa knew, and whose troubles Lisa knew like the back of her hand. These guys had life savings or something like 10,000 moons or 30,000 moons, and some and had only a few thousand moons of savings. Since they were willing to give me 20% of the profits, and I had to shoulder none of the losses, there was no reason for me to decline the offers. Because fundamentally, investing didn't really change me for the amount of money. The amount of effort required here wouldn't change, only the amount of profits. Furthermore, the feeling of helping someone would something sorry, the feeling of helping someone out would be stronger as well. A total of 8 people came by to entrust us with their money, and in short time, our war chest increased to 200 moons. Now we can let's all sorry. Now we can help lots of people. I can monitor to that comment while looking at the register Lisa made of names and how much money was given. Even I, when looking at that a deplorable state Chris was in, thought it wasn't bad to help someone else make money. However, whenever someone came by with some money, a little part of me felt a bit more nervous. It was because large amounts of money made it harder to perform quick trades. With 70,000 moons, it was possible to dump all of it into a single one of any number of stocks right away. But with 200 moons, the options were much more limited. If it weren't a large construction firm, bank, insurance firm, or infrastructure firm, then just our own trades would move the prices. Therefore, we'd have to break the 200 moons 200,000 moons into 3 or 4 parts and invested in many more stocks when we had been doing so before. Theoretically, that would work, but would it really be fine in the end? I was apprehensive, but then again, there was groundless fears. I had room to breathe. If I didn't have to do something unnecessary like pause and scrutinize each and every stock, then there certainly was a breathing room for me. Furthermore, Hagan's program had been improving day by day, and I had started being able to just simply trust it from the get-go. In other words, I started simply taking the program spot out at the face value and using it to lay on the trades. Just like before, I partnered up with Hagana. I switched between uh, dizzying screens, not pausing to take a breath, while carving out at the computer, then increased my profits endlessly. The gears were all properly greased and turning fine. Kinda think in on this point, since program work and everything alright, isn't they should find some people to actually help them, like hire some people or something, or maybe start company. I mean, we kinda can do it since they underage, but still. The guests were all probably graced and turning fine. The profits kept expanding, and the number of people who came to entrust us with their money kept increasing. Including profits, our war chest shot past 50,000 moves, with my share at 180,000 moves, including compensation. However, something had to be sacrificed. At 200 moves, my head was spinning, and when we hit 500 moves, 500,000 moves, I had to relegate the virtual markets to second priority. I'm sure Barton was looking at this, but he should understand once I talk about the trades I was doing on the real market. Barton would probably be more interested in trades on the real market than the virtual one, and if I could show off my performance here, he should understand. At least, on the investment contest front, we hit a standstill right around the time we broke 50 million moves. However, the thorn in my side was that I gradually started losing enjoyment out of the profits in the real market. Perhaps my senses had become numbed. Perhaps the energy involved in the trading has not only tried me out physically but mentally as well. After all, it was 8 hours of continuous trading that didn't allow me for mistakes or playing around. Yeah, I kind of feel it's the moment when one person or even two person not enough, and Hagan don't really helping with training outside her program, which is big, but still. So yeah, right now we had received money from more than 10 people, and the fates of 20 or to 30 people rested on us. And furthermore, many of those were people who would be the type where the profits would finally let them buy a pair of shoes or some new clothes. Among them were obviously many kids Chris age, and some of Hagana students. You couldn't then force me to say that it had gotten boring because it was no longer thrilling to the lack of gambling involved. I couldn't make recreational gambling trades. My head was stuffy, and I felt sick to my stomach. Once afternoon training ended, I didn't feel like doing anything. Because of how Hagana's program worked, there was no real reason to follow the market news, and I had run out of things to do. But I also didn't like just staring off into blank space, so I ran away to Ceral Place. It certainly come by a lot recently. While I was staring at an old film from Earth, the partition door opened with Ceral's face peeking inside. The Godfather, you should have some strange tastes. So, what do you want? Well, it's not that I had something particular in mind to talk about, but here, Crowd handed me a can of soda. For accepting it, I asked sharply, would this cost extra? It's on the house, you bother. In that case, I'll take it. I accepted the soda and opened it with a sh sound. I guess you like those films from Europe, yeah. And not to mention they're all mafia films or war films. It's too moody. The chicken won't dig that. Ah, sorry. The chicks won't dig that. Oh, shut up. I saved and returned my guest to the movie. Rather than the scene ends, some henchmen missing a few brain cells decided to go undercover to enemy territory and got killed instantly. Why did that guy think the enemy wasn't going to suspect him? Not like me and watch more romantic stuff. Isn't everything you watch just porn? What do you say? And then, after intentionally looking for time, uh, do I know this word? Sorry. Hmm. Okay, not sure. Furtively left and right, came forward to whisper into my ear. I finally got some nice stuff featuring some girl who looked just like Hagana, you know? Okay. Thinking that I'd be flustered by the comment, he swung his gaze over to glance at me. Wait, can you react a bit more? You monkey. Yeah, yeah. But what's so good about these types of films? Won't something with more explosion and metal against metal be more fitting for you youngsters? I decided to ignore him. I liked mafia and war films because I understood how they operated. And besides, it wasn't something where a lone hero could solve all his problems. Gyres were connected by a thick thread that you could almost reach out and touch, and they were pulled by these strings as if they were puppets dancing on the screen. There was something of the stock market, quite like it. The players of stock markets also had clear principles of behavior, but just one person wasn't enough to do anything significant. I liked imagining and watching such scenarios unfold with people reaching for clear goals. A mafia or any army squad making decisions so logical that way were illogical for the sake of their pride, or friends made me tremble with excitement. There was basically no surprise development. Even if there were one, it wouldn't be just the first crank that put the gears of the plot into motion. In the stock market, it was like hearing some unexpected news, and once that story hit, the game was on or to see who'd win and who'd lose. Totally boring. Run but it in with a line while I was watching the film, wondering quietly to myself. Oh, grow up. I'm taking good care of my youthfulness here. Because Europe dogs are well known for having come over publics or their beloved warrior. Am I right? Gravity is love, you know? Having said so, he gave up and went back to the counter. I turned my gaze to the screen, but he suddenly stopped and poked his big head back into the both. Oh yeah, there's rumors about you too, you know? There are many ways to decipher an ambiguous statement. However, I did look back over at Cyril because his tone was oddly serious. Huh? About you and Hagana. What are you, a gossiping grade schooler? I told him in a fed-up tone. He was dumbstruck at first, but then smiled wryly. No, I don't mean that. Then, what do you mean? I hear that you had been collecting people's money to use. By the way, I didn't think about this before, but don't they get in trouble because of this? I mean, they already deal with loan collectors, but I don't remember. We hear what the guy who give money died. Do like new people actually uh, uh, also do credits and stuff and loans, or they just want to collect what was gained before? Like if they still do money business, they can be they can don't like what Haru and Kagana are doing because they pretty much not exactly but kind of like conference. Um, 1 second, is it right word and they or I trying to use Russian word in with English pronunciation. Yeah, I wanted to say competitors. Okay. Mm, This rival also working. Anyway, that line felt like the spark that triggered a war between rival mafia factions. Yeah, kinda exactly what I talked about. What about it? Does Lisa know? Of course. I shift my gaze back to the screen. Rumors. Had people really been talking about us? Wait, Lisa really knows? Gripes, man. Yes, and plus, originally I didn't feel like using our people's money. But I did it first for Lisa. Her eyes shot wide open, and he leaned forward to whip his big head. Lisa owed people money. You're up too close. Yeah, you didn't know. I didn't. She lost a valuable book she borrowed from the university, and lost her debt of 50,000 moons for it and was out of options. Oh, Howard slapped his hands on his giant hand. If she had told me, she'd then be able to pay it off. After I asked, Gerald was about to say something, then kept his mouth shut. He was probably trying to put on some meaningless show of vanity. Man, so that was the case, but that program I made for Hagana, you're making money with that. This way investment prowess. Well, let's put that aside. What are you doubting here? Don't get mad. The emails Hagana wrote were full of Hal said this and Hal said that. So there wasn't there. So there is no way I doubt you. That revelation totally caught me off guard. Well, that aside, what I'm trying to say is that you should be careful. What? People also know you swing by these parts. You know, you could be taught physically, but that might not work against some of. It's not just people out there. So I mean, it makes sense. What, like hackers? There's also that. At any rate, it'd be a good idea to keep quiet about collecting up that much money. This is the moon, after all. Well, I wouldn't mind if you think of this as just some noisy guy advice. He was so serious, I was at loss for words. Ah, okay. You don't know what's going to happen in the world. It would hard to be a bit careful. I mean, it's good advice. After saying that last line, slapped me lightly on the shoulder and went back to the counter. Totally, letting people around you know you've been working with this money, but you collected had no merit whatsoever. However, I couldn't just return my money at this point, and the people who gave money to me were really in deep trouble financially. I had to do it, and if I didn't, it was obvious that terrible things would happen. Hmm. Can he ask advice from Barton or something like this? Like Barton don't really. Well, I believe Barton don't gonna really care about such small sum of money for him. Like what they say, fee for 500,000 or something. It should be a really small sum for someone like Barton, but I believe he maybe gonna give some advices. It just I'm not sure if they should talk him about program. Hmm. Anyway, going back to watching the film. I had to choose but to move forward. Like I had to follow some mafia by love. 10 minutes later, I was totally absorbed in the film and forgot about Cyrill's words. After I finished watching, I returned to the church. Hmm. I hope he don't completely uh, is completely. Anyway, despite going to Cyrill's sword and sleeping early, my fatigue built up steadily day by day. I had no idea just what was wrong. All I knew was that whenever I thought about training, I'd feel lethargic and depressed. Perhaps the number of stocks I had to trade in order to retain the same level of performance with increased funds was a bit too much. And perhaps I was feeling the burden of having people's fates placed upon me more so what I had anticipated. After finishing morning training, I slumped over the table He had left unfinished the lunch Lisa prepared for me before she head out for the Chinese restaurant. Are you alright? Helen said that to me during the break. She wasn't used to saying things like that, and plus her voice was faltering. Don't know, let me rest. And then I closed my eyes. Training screens flickered in my vision, and there was a dull pain in my head. I thought maybe it was a cold, but it didn't feel like that. Besides a cold, there were other things I could be suffering from. For now, no matter how I tried to, how, sorry, no matter how tired I got from training, all I needed was a good night rest before. I was ready and pumped for more action. However, that stopped being the case. So I guess he burned out? Now and when I would wake up, I feel annoyed that I'd have to trade again today. Perhaps it was a reaction to having made too much money, something I hadn't done for a while. Perhaps it was something similar to the initial euphoria and eventual boredom one would get by cheating in a video game. If so, then it was simply a lifestyle disease in my mind. If I continued to pile on the profits, not only would I be able to save a lot of people, but I'd also be able to go to fantastic places. Trading too much? At that point, Hagana again talked to me. I looked up because her words piqued my interest. And if it was too much, what would you do? My wording came off as irritated, because there is nothing that could be done with all these funds without carefully making lots of trades. I have an idea. I reacted so much that I surprised even myself. Not only did I look up, but my body got up as well. Agnes was sitting on the chair, staring this way. What? We could just automate the trading for the investment contest. Oh. I mean... It's... I mean... From one side, it's not a bad decision. From another, it's kind of became a little scary how good Hagana's program became. Since it pretty much make Haru kinda useless, as well as a lot on our traders. Start Hagana's face. Okay, I think this, but it isn't does from me because I'm always one for progress and stuff. Like I really like idea about artificial intelligence and stuff. So, anyway. I started Hagana's face. It was a simple and ridiculously clear solution. When I talked to Serault, he took that we already have extended it and quickly made a new program. Backtesting showed that while it couldn't really touch you, it was making clean gains. Hagar opened the program on her terminal and showed me their test results. I scanned at the numbers and front with a dull headache. The displayed number had plus and minuses flying around everywhere. Since it wasn't able to read the mood of the market like me, there were big losses and the total performance was only a third of mine. Despite that, the fully automated program was clearly making gains. Hell, right now you will look really bad. When I lifted my face up from the terminal, Gans was staring at me emotionlessly. I didn't need words to know, but her poker face hid the actual worry for me. Performance dropped, but with this, you could concentrate on the real market. Gans' eyes were serious. Even if I relegated the investment contest to second priority, I still couldn't totally leave it alone. Now I felt like the contest and the real market were starting to not be compatible with each other. And thus, if something had to be cut, Hagana would totally decide on the investment contest. I mean, it makes sense. They kinda, if not win, but way kinda already in kinda good place. And besides, he already was noticed, and even if he didn't was noticed, they already have money and do a lot more money with it. So, I mean, there's only probably what they kind of don't really have a lot of connections right now. So it's maybe a little dangerous, but still. This insignificant observation was certainly plausible, but Hakan's side said that she truly was worried about me. However, I couldn't help but lower my eyes in response to that suggestion. An investment borrowed to replace me. One reason I pondered over that was because the performance would degrade. If Barton were looking at the training history, there was the possibility that he'd give up on me. However, the biggest reason was something much clearer. I was not needed. With that realization, I felt a chill in my pit of my stomach. I finally set the pit trap in front of me, but I had totally not noticed at all. The performance could be improved with some work. However, Hal, this is also worried about you, and so? Not needed. I cut off Hagan's words and replied. Not needed. I handled both. I mean, I kinda feel it's maybe already too late to try and stop it. Like, if they can do this program, probably someone else also can do the same. They, I guess, just was first. I was about to say something. However, I quickly interrupted her with my words. Mr. Trosh, in the first place, had made a ridiculous amount of money. With this program, we wouldn't be able to catch up. It was simply sound reasoning, and it was the truth. However, the real reason was different. Besides, I wasn't trying to deny that I was putting the contest on the back burner. Of course, I was concerned about one thing. Because the performance, if anyone could do it, Hagan could. The program had been steadily getting better. However, I couldn't improve at the same speed as the program. One day, it would catch up to me. And when that time came, what would I do? Why don't you go and find some easier stocks to profit off or something? Yeah, concentrate on increasing the volatility, yeah. I'll extract gains from that. But wasn't that our original division of labor? I mean, I still think on this point, this fear of being replaced is a little too late. This program already exists, as I said. Someone else could recreate it. Also, there is a question if someone gonna guess what they use this program or something. I mean, I'm not sure if it's possible to guess, but still. I kinda feel like Haru just need to find another thing what he can to do. Anyway, Haga's brows bent, showing a bit of pain on her part. Couldn't tell if she was being worried about me or not. What I did instead was that I had somehow find myself in a bad situation. What if Haga's program were to fully be able to copy everything I could do and became fully automated? Right now my processing power was limited as I was just a human being. What I had at first joked about, I started feeling more realistic. In fact, there was the possibility that her program would surpass me. When the time came, how much value I would have to Barton, and how much would I be worth to Hagana. Furthermore, I couldn't just reject cooperation from Hagana at this point. His family couldn't pay off their debts right now. I couldn't push her away. Of course, my choices were limited. I'll continue to do my best until the end of the contest. There were 2 weeks remaining in the contest. There's nothing that couldn't be endured. There's nothing that couldn't be faked out. Fake it over. Sorry. Facing Akaganov, who was hesitating on agreeing, I made my move, ignoring the moral implications. So please, lend me a hand. Hagan shrugged nervously, then nodded strongly. It didn't appear to be the Haganov who doubted that she couldn't do anything. Right now we had collected a lot of money, and the those people could pay off their debts rested with us. What I had said to her was the ultimate move. However, it was ironic. The more I relied on Hagan's help, the more my power waned. Being unable to smile even when making heaps of money, I finally realized where my fatigue was coming from. What I was doing now was nothing different from mere work. I stopped getting up early to read the news and stopped staring at the stocks after trading. I wasn't using the program to make money. It was painful because I had simply been relegated into the program's ultimate component. However, even that were the case, I had to continue this way. Furthermore, I had to protect my standing. Before managing to secure the top spot in the contest and heading out to Schrodinger Street, I had to think of it as myself trading. Alright, afternoon training is about to start. Hmm, okay, kinda interesting about this situation. I mean, more interesting than before. Hmm, because, mm, I mean, I don't really relate to this stuff or something. It just, I kinda, as I said before, it kinda uh, similar to debate about artificial intelligence uh, and stuff like AI art in particular. Uh, and well, people can hate me, but I always be more about progress and AI art actually make art and stuff more um, forget word like accessible for everyone because art it's kind of stupidly expensive nowadays. And if I understand its work and stuff, but still, uh, so yeah. But I kind of don't really like watching stuff about debates about this stuff because I don't know. I constantly think like in every debates like people don't really want to listen our side. I mean, I personally also don't really care about side what I disagree with. So I kind of want to see what this after and this no gonna say it about some different stuff. I mean, similar stuff. Hmm. I personally think like in situation like this, you somehow need to just move forward. I mean, use stuff what again like new stuff is like this program to make things easier for you and continue doing on our things. Hmm. I mean, there's like question if it like no like in this case, if Scarrow interesting to do it so fast. I mean, I kinda believe he don't really plan to his entire life to just trade stocks. And using this program, it can make give him new things to use. Like I don't know if it's possible, but can he like you make some um, like company organization hire more people, give them this program, and then be like a leader of this organization, so we can do stuff like this, or maybe find on our style what he can do. Uh, I mean, it's hard to say. Anyway, let's just continue reading. The reader, not remember. Anyway, I made my short proclamation and handed the terminal back to Hagana. I was about to start another round of simple work. I had to endure it, and I had to hide my true feelings from Hagana. The investment contest entered the final stretch, and Mr. Trosh must have used some sort of rocket fuel to send his number soaring into a 92 million moon mark. There was no longer any doubt that he was putting his leverage into full tilt via margin trading. I believe it would be absurd to be able to put out this level of performance without using margin trading. Besides, the contest had entered the final stage, with everyone starting to engage in massive speculation, and thus stock price movement became more chaotic. One after another, people started making lots of profit. Even I had reached the 55 million moon mark, but that was only fifth place. Before I had only been doing a little bit of margin trading here and there, but now I had removed the safeties and was using them constantly to my fullest extent. This was supposed to be building my leverage, but I felt unresponsive in front of the computer. This wasn't a matter of performance, but there are more spirits. The more money we made, the more Hagana became absorbed in her formulas, and the more she became absorbed in her formulas, the more the program improved. And thus, it started to show more and more how there was no longer a place for me. This past day, I started not being able to tell whenever a stock was good stock or bad stock from a list. I could figure out whenever something wasn't half bad, and I could figure out whenever I liked a stock. However, I couldn't figure out anything beyond that. It felt like there was a veil thrown over my eyes. I wondered if Barton was looking at the training records. There hadn't been any response from him since then, so perhaps he had given up on a boring fellow like me after seeing the results. It was because Barton had called out to me after looking at the initial big gambles I had made. He probably had no interest in a fifth-place person like me, who could only pick up loose change here and there. It was said that this Mr. Truchet was a super elite who graduated from Harvard with an MBA and had been informally offered employment with Platinum Smith. I mean, I kind of think he too paranoid about this. Like, he still look as profitable investment. I mean, he young, he don't really worth, I think, a lot to actually help him. So, I feel like everything should be interesting in it. Since to hire Haru will be cost much less when hire this Mr. Trosha guy. And even if he's not as good as this, still, I'm pretty sure to work with Haru and hire him, it's just profitable. So you don't really lose anything by it. Anyway, I would soon be able to retain interest in me when there was something like that out there. I mean, it's only one person. Come on. However, there was no mistake that was we accomplished was helping a lot of people. And it wasn't just those people burdened with loans that I was talking about. I couldn't get confidence from our success. I started looking more like a real human being. She had mellowed out unbelievably since we met, and she even sometimes became bashful. Lisa was happy about that above all else. On the other hand, I felt something heavy gradually building up in my gut. I ducked out, nearly venting from time to time, but Lisa supported me, saying it was because I was worn out from trading. However, I knew that wasn't the reason. In order to have my position taken over by Hagan's program, I had to be desperate. I couldn't express what I was doing was irreplaceable except through my attitude and actions. I was afraid that Hagan would seriously start working on the automated program if I didn't do it. Starting around then, I started waking up in the middle of the night from a nightmare. In it, with each answer I gave to Hagana, my body started changing more and more into formulas. Like a jigsaw puzzle, not fitting together, my body would collapse into a pile of Greek letters. I'd frantically tried to collect them, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't put them back into my original body. During times like the breakfast, Hagana was unbelievably courteous and would hand me a spoon of the sugar. However, I was starting to believe that it was some sort of intentional harassment, no matter how ridiculous it sounded. Right when I was about to cry from being driven to the limit, I received an email for Barton. I made some time, so could we meet? Sorry, but if we could start in the morning, then that would be great. The appointment date was a normal working day. Going out during training was outrageous, but there were days before I teamed up with Hagana that I'd stop training and start off into space. On rainy days, for example. Clinging to this email as the last ray of hope, I replied, "We could meet." And the response came back quickly as expected, and it pointed out the Royal Central Hotel, where we met before. When I told Hagan what I was going to leave mid-morning on a trading day, she was more confused than shocked. What would you do about the trading? She asked the obvious question. I had already decided on my reply. Couldn't I just rest a day? Hannah's eye flew open in shock at my words, but Hagana couldn't do the rest by herself, and we couldn't rely on an automatic program. Why don't you get some rest too? Why are you staying up late recently? Okay. Hagana nodded and didn't say anything else. The night before I was to meet Barton, I couldn't really sleep much. You know, from one side, I kind of want to her actually talk with Hagana about everything. Um, from another side, like what they can talk about. Like he can't really say Hagana don't do this program. Can't don't use program. So mm, maybe he should talk with Lisa and he gonna give him some advice. Actually, maybe talking with Barton can help because yeah, like even if I don't really like Haru and Hagana don't really have conversations about stuff. Mm, I also can't think this can be productive conversation. Anyway, in the back of my mind was my meeting with Barton, and the glimpse of the gorgeous night scenes of Newton City. I took the same route to the Grand Central Hotel as I did 2 weeks before, and was led to the back of the cafe again. And just like last time, I met him pause in his smile. He looked terrible, but his words were different this time. Barton ordered me a hot chocolate liqueur. When I drank it, I felt like I was about to cry uncontrollably. Hmm. Barton set his massive self down across from the coffee table, with his elbow on the armrest and his fingers at his temple. Of course, he was observing me, but I was obviously looking transparent to him, but I feel a little embarrassed. I somehow also felt a bit at home. Some people condemn people for being wasteful and extravagant when those people say living was hard when they successful. Suddenly Barton spoke. Whose condemnation are the words of losers who had never succeeded before? Slugly they don't understand that the world is like that. No matter how hungry you are, if someone were to ram food down your throat, it'd be painful for you. Barton said whose words while looking at the coffee cup he had just sipped from. I saw your performance in the Investiga test. How good or how bad the numbers came out sometimes depends on luck. Getting stuck isn't bad, per se, but he worked and continued. Sorry, well, it's getting boring. I almost dropped my cup. What happened in the beginning felt like almost an hour person. Of course, your investment methods are a selection of stocks and consistent right now, but from a more fundamental point of view, well, it looks like just a repetitive labor. Barton sat down his cup and leaned forward, looking at me. His eyes felt like this. They would pierce through the truth and be able to see the unpredictable future clearly. Say, mister, you haven't involved someone else in your investing, have you? My hand trembled, spinning the chocolate liqueur. However, I didn't move at all from that position. I just couldn't bring myself to say that. I wasn't intentionally trying to hide it. However, if two people were involved in the investments, then the performance would the result from two people. Despite that, here was just me by myself. Furthermore, floating amongst these boiling sea of profits, how much could I say I was responsible for? And with all my frantic efforts to prevent being replaced by a program, had they all simply ended my current standing? Hmm. Hmm. I mean, kind of strange. I don't really agree to uh, just uh, rely on luck because it's kind of just too much of gambling. Hmm. But he's not wrong. Hmm. It's hard to say. Hmm. I mean, also I don't exactly agree with Haru for not being responsible for like finding person who can help and do some stuff. It's actually also mm, like good thing to have to do, even if he kind of was lucky to meet Hagana, but still, she's doing math. He figure out what it can help and he go for it. It's not bad thing to do. Using to stuff you can use for success. Hmm. Well, about replacing Baba program, there is another thing. But funny enough, I'm not sure if Barton actually gonna be interesting if in this if Caro gonna talk about it. Hmm. Since it seems like Barton don't really look for this thing because he actually don't really like how Caro uh, perform with program. Hmm. I sat down at my cup, not being able to look up. Barton continued. Did you think I was going to ask you to bring this our person? What you said was exactly what I was worried about. It would have been a quant in any case, right? Uh, 1 second, I don't remember this word. Hmm. I. Oh. Uh huh. Okay. I see definition. actually talking about finances. Okay. I looked up instantly. There was an expression on his matter and dignified face like he'd eaten something bad. Looks like I was right. Teaming up with a math geek quant would do that. But that quant was responsible for most of the profits now. Barton held out his palm to prevent me from saying anything for. Quants are terrific creatures. And if you consider that being brilliant, then they certainly are. They model the market using math, and in most cases, they can turn human training methods into formulas. Barton flat out said that exactly what's happening to me. Are you perhaps the slight types of investor who would nibble at the stock here and there, making careful profits while trying to find the next big wave to ride? Yes, and that's something beautiful. The quick rises and falls of the stock market are, after all, most likely caused by humans. It's a lump of of irrationality that can be expressed by formulas, and it's something that could only be felt by humans. He was talking about the mood, something I couldn't get Hagana to understand despite all of my attempts to explaining. In this era, human labor is gradually getting replaced by work done by machines. The fight is here, and you can't run away from it. He poked at his temple lightly. To win, there are only two ways. Either you became someone who can make the machines, or you continue doing the things machines can do. I mean, I kinda agree with it. Things machines can do. That's right. I had called out to you before because I thought you'd have the talent to do something like that. From just looking at your opening moves. People's thought are not something that could be turned into formulas. Being able to see through to them beyond the data and outward appearances is a talent. Martin was leaning over at me, staring at me while talking. For example, that client you're working with, what do you think? Does that client possess the talent to be able to see through people's inner thoughts? At what's worse, I instantly had Hagana in my head. There was one thing Hagana was bad at. It was seeing uh, through to people's thoughts and considering their feelings. There are many quants like that, unable to do so. We haven't shown this to a degree of neurology. It's not easy to develop the brain in all these different directions after all. More specifically, being able to handle all these numbers is a very specialized skill. These math maniacs who'd be able to work as quants to make money are mostly people who'd use their brains for math too much and have a lot of issues trying to deal with our people. It's most people who simply don't want to deal with our people because it's be a bore. Isn't that some kind of love? You just think of a math professor wearing a white lab coat and glasses. They are different strange people. I was very familiar with what Barton was saying. His thoughts were usually very straightforward, just like math. If A equal B and B equal C, then I would have to be equal to C till the ends of time, no buts about it. And who's thinking of things like selling herself to solve the debt issue, because methods were always pretty extreme. These are the effects of having been stepped long in math. And the reward for that price was talent in math. And this math being what class using is a universal tool. Everyone's using the same tool to compete. So even if you came up with the best way, eventually someone would be able to mimic you. Yeah, it also what I already said. Hmm. It's kind of nice having after to say what I also think. I mean, anyway, it's a fiercely competitive world out there. I think that there is no guarantee of reward. Sorry, there is no guarantee of reward. Permanently maintaining first is something that impossible from the get-go. Everyone's experimenting by trial and error, hoping to do well. Of course, they'll all eventually come across the same methods. With everyone doing the same thing, obviously you couldn't make money. A year, half of a year, or perhaps just a few months later, you'd suddenly stop doing as well as you had before. And in a new situation, when you're trying to carefully pick stocks, haven't you hit a wall before? Catching the mood of the market and doing short-term trades outside of this highly volatile situation is the same as what a quant is doing after all. I couldn't count how many times I had gasped. It was like being able to see everything in a new light from the silence. Before I had teamed up with Hagana, my trades had suddenly stopped working as well. And thought I had been doing the same thing, I couldn't obtain the same level of performance. But it was probably because someone else managed to figure out the same tactics I had been using. I guess that's what happened, but it was careless to consider working with a quant. Anyone training on intuition and reflex would start wanting to steal of approval of science. However, the lack of science doesn't solve any problems. Hmm, not sure if I agree with this. Hmm. In the end, you are doing the same thing. Therefore, if you want to be a human who can surpass the machines, you have to think about progress as a human. Trying to make money in the irrational atmosphere, when stocks are either rising or falling rapidly, is one way. Once assume people are rational and model the market that way. And therefore, it's useless in situations when people are being irrational. Furthermore, humans are usually irrational. Some stuff like romance are pretty much like that. Pardon was smiling with satisfaction, but I could only give an assured nod. Well, wasn't thinking it was okay to give Lisa 50,000 moons in exchange for sleeping on her lap, the epitome of irrationality. Now, it's true that everyone had times when they start wanting to turn to science, so I'm not launching at you. For economics, both past and present, once they open their mouth, nothing but formulas come out. Most likely, it is because they feel that they wouldn't be accepted as real science without throwing formulas in. However, and doing that doesn't free them from their fears. Put simply, they're simply avoiding the things they can't compute. Nietzsche once said that the secret to science was the true fear of things that cannot be computed. In order to overcome machines, humans must get close to things that cannot compute. Um, and the only people who can do it, Barton flicked his suspenders and said in teasing tone, are those who can look through what the other person is thinking. In front of Barton, all I could do was to listen. It took all my effort to try to understand him, and it would be strange to say I really understood him. However, I knew what he was saying something very important. I dreamed many times that my body was turning into Greek letters, and this rate I'd stop being necessary. Therefore, I had to do something that Hagal wouldn't be able to. Swallowed my saliva and asked Barton in a trembling voice, would I be able to do that? In front of me, Barton first frowned at me. This isn't a question of whether you couldn't do it or not. To survive, your only choice is to do it well. I feel like I'd heard this phrase somewhere before. But a terribly powerful phrase, I thought to myself. I nodded slowly. Furthermore, I don't just idle around. I'll call out to people who have a chance at doing it. And on that point, your sense of smell had already been demonstrated. One of the reasons I had called you out to come here during the morning of training day was that. Martin finished up the remaining coffee in his cup, set it down on the table, and then grabbed his jacket from the sofa next to him. I want to show you an outline of how I trade. Since he had a large frame, I felt even the atmosphere around him moved then he got up. Barton stood up Imposingly, I looked over at me. Let's go. Who's their powerful words, like a hero leading a lost? Hmm. I mean, there is no way that he's also just do same as her doing. Hmm. Barton drove his nail this time. The car didn't feel any less expensive, but it wasn't something that you'd recognize instantly as a high-class luxury car. I was a bit lost because the car looked like it would get lost instantly among the other cars on the street. Comrade shotgun. Hmm? Following Barton's direction, I sat myself down up front. It's always a hard decision about what car to use for work. In the cramped driver's seat, the full-figured Barton drove the car with strong and solid turns on the steering wheel. It has to be not too fancy and not too junky. Why? The only way to surpass the machines is to look into people's inner thoughts. Barton replied with a teasing tone. Now it was figure it out yourself. Sorry, we gonna stop pretty soon because I'm starting to struggle with words a little. Like I totally noticed that I pronounce the word or our read some word correctly. I just was don't want to stop. Mm, anyway, a car for work. Doing this price over in my head. Master suddenly occurred to me. If it's too shabby looking, they'd think you didn't make very much money. But I was the head of an investment fund. Customers entrust money to the fund, and the fund would use that money and take a slice of the profits. People weren't the type to entrust money to us, while desperately trying to repay their loans. Then they'd probably prefer entrusting their money to a fund manager in a luxury car instead of someone in a broken down car. That's correct. And why shouldn't it be too luxurious? But I replied without taking his eyes off the road. Franklin tried to come up with an answer. However, a clear reason wasn't going to mind. Hmm. What do we think? Hmm, I think like maybe guy with two luxurious cars just can't really be trusted. Like like he well, firstly he can be corrupted and just use money just to himself and was think and even if not that he just kind of feel too distant from people from another people. Hmm. Anyway, it would perhaps make people hate you. Hate me? Well, I suppose there is that. I can made a right in at an intersection. The city was multi-layered, and also most places have roads separate from pedestrian paths. The city, as seen from car lanes, looked different from a pedestrian point of view. Actually, it's kind of a line of defense. Defense? Yeah, as long as there are times when a fund makes money, there will be times when it loses money. It's even more true the longer a fund had been around. Therefore, if you normally go around in a luxury car, then it becomes much harder to justify during times of loss. Hmm, interesting. Therefore, a car for work had to be not too high class and not too cheap. Because a luxury car focused on uh, practicality is best to relax in. I understood his point. Well, such a thing comes easily when you do it yourself. And besides, there's something else we should be looking at. The car descended into a lower level, exited the highway, and came out in a corner of the administrative sector. This area not only houses the Lunar University campus, but is also was home to drug companies, biotech companies, and many other companies making huge revenues on intellectual property. Among the companies around here, which one's financial reports have you looked at? Martin asked me while the car sped through tree-lined classy streets after having come back onto the upper layers. Hmm. Martin had both hands on the steering wheel and looked around at the building outside, as if he was trying to find someone he was scheduled to meet. Shot through my memories at once. The companies around here were obviously among the main stocks on the market. Rupert Pharmacy, Hutton, Tosca Holding, Ring Tech, Amin Biotechnology, and haha, regret being able to come up with just this instantly. Or more, all of them have great finances. I could recommend them even to old widows. I see. However, looking at finance reports and graphs of stock price will only net you conclusions that every program could make. Even signs of embellishment and according fraud could be picked up mechanically if you uh, had the know-how. It's because they could all be represented with well-known logic and numbers. Did you know that you can use statistics to find invalid records in ledgers? Huh? You just have to look at the statistical distribution of digits for the first digit in all the numbers. From that, you could determine whether there was something fishy. I had no idea what he was talking about. From my Wagyu knowledge, the digits on a ledger were random, as if you rolled dice. In other words, the numbers 1 to 9 should appear with equal probability. Counting firms use it to expose inappropriate management. Statistically speaking, in normal situation, the first digit tends to be 1, about 30% of the time. They call it Bedford Law. I thought that couldn't be right, but two words came out of my mouth. The math is a bit difficult, but if you look at logarithmic graphs, you'll be able to see it. And this type of stuff is child's play for quants. Warren set himself up, stepped on the gas a bit, and entered a narrow street. Very narrow street. And then he stopped over by the shoulder and nodded over at a building nearby. Hmm. This is the building where Ring Tech is housed. Look cool. Well, kinda cool. I'm not exactly sure what I like this style. Doesn't it look magnificent? There's 12 floors underground, 53 floors above ground, and it took 1.5 billion moves to build. A spanking new building finished just last year. Okay, I kinda want to count windows just to check if it's exactly 53 floors, but it's just gonna take too much money, so whatever. You could feel it trying to paint itself a big player in the market. That of being called an up-and-coming biotechnology firm. It's also convenient, being close to Lunar University as well as the administration sector. Now, Barton, look at me. There's a problem with the architecture. Eh? I wonder how such a building could have flaws. There's stood a glass-lined building in full dignity, a symbol of wealth and success. It was a top-class enterprise which had hit sales volumes of 11.2 billion smalls in its 20th years of as a company. Looking over reference data for investing didn't turn up any problems. It was a prime example of stocks with constant growth well into the future. You should know that Ring Tech had its beginning on the Earth. It was located in Washington. And did you know its selling points was its freedom-filled corporate culture? Yeah, it was a venture set up by researchers tired of the top brass at pharmacy giant device back in Washington. It was called the company there. Management and researchers were the closest. A freedom-filled research environment yields results. and they made a big leap, patenting landmark advances in genome marking technology and bio-related test kits. Realizing the big one with gene therapy drugs and came to the moon. In description about the company, you will see the CEO in a white lab coat. Company cars were the same regardless of whether you were normal employee or the CEO. The benefits packages were generous and there wasn't much classism. It was a wonderful place. It was a wonderful. So I guess he mean, but now it's just exactly became just a standard company without like any freedom or something, which makes sense. I kind of think it's true with every company which become big. Like what work with small companies, I believe don't really work with big ones. The way Barton put it, it felt like there was something suspicious, different from what was being said by the company. I decided to ask, so it's not true? At first, appearance still appeared that way. Look at the top part of that building. Sticking his head against the car window, he looked up and pointed at it. Also peered at it with him. The top floors have a favorite shapes, don't they? Yeah, a cross shape. Yep, a terribly awkward shape. Once management starts feeling like they have special rights, most of the time new building will start getting distorted like that. Don't tell me. Anytime blowing out a line inadvertently. Pardon checked with satisfaction next to me. Any design like that serves to increase the number of corner offices. It's because higher ups don't like having offices wedged between ours. Furthermore, on the second floor, in that section, there's that place where it's all just one piece of glass, right? That's special employed cafeteria. Of course, officially doesn't exist. I looked at Barton, dumbfounded. Had to ask him why. Why do you know this if it's not official? Just point a pair of binoculars over there during the day, and you know. I guess that was true. But were there really people who do that? Of course there were. Here was one right here. When an enterprise which sells itself on the freedom of its corporate culture ends up doing this, the end was probably near. If it had originally been some bureaucratic style company, then people working there would already gotten used to it. A lot of people had gathered there because they didn't like the bureaucracy type of stuff, and so they'd really feel disillusioned. Of course, these researchers would eventually leave in larger numbers, and then perhaps set up a new company. Therefore, things like building giving evidence to the rise and fall of corporations do exist. The companies couldn't continue to operate long after setting up shop in such building and then end up getting bought out due to having worsening performance. Perhaps the superstitious would think that there was something with that building. However, the truth is different. Even if that building were to fetch a high price, there would be those enterprises trying to get in where management have similar lines of thought. A flag emblazoned with the company logo flew in front of the front foyer. People entering and exiting all appeared to be either hot-shot businessmen or talented researchers. There wasn't even a hint that something was wrong. However, now being told that I was told, the shape of the building surely was unnatural. Furthermore, For there to exist a special employee cafeteria not known to the public, there had to be uh, more lies and deception in the inner working of the company. This type of talk would definitely not show up in the numbers. Once this actually showed up in the numbers, it would already be too late. Grasping exclusive information is a strength. I patiently await a chance to short sell among all the people idiotically trying to buy into the stock. However, before this information, I could only look at whatever people were buying or selling and gather information from other numbers. Once there were a lot of margin, buying or short selling, laid upon these stocks, you'd end up with a situation where, regardless of whether it goes up or down, there'd be a huge amount of change. And if you misread it, Barton made a gesture, as if he were sitting, slitting his throat. It's true what when you're trying to determine what to do based on market sentiment, in the long run you'd end up 50-50. And then you'd have to keep your eyes peeled for hints and make adjustment based on them. I spend my days at work looking around at companies for patterns. Once I found a pattern, I tried to figure out why that pattern exists. Most of the time, it would be reflected in the simple emotions of the people. However, this is work that definitely cannot be done by a machine. But on starting the engine again, I pulled the car out slowly. And from my experience, those who could read well the sentiment of the market are those who can easily see these patterns. And look at the same thing. Sometimes you'll feel something different or see something different, right? It isn't something you can train yourself in. It's in it. Couldn't figure out what I should say while being praised. I could only look abashedly downwards, adding from time to time. Well, what's left in is the work of finding the right connections with people. Sometimes you'd see someone who'd keep going back no matter how many failures. The most famous one is that real estate tycoon Daniel Trapp. Trapp? Oh, you don't know? He's the man who's earned the nickname America's Mr. Resilience. At the age of 40, he already declared bankruptcy 3 times, and every time the amount of losses increased. The third time was a $1.2 billion debt, causing the company to founder. Hmm. However, 4 years later, he bought a uh, $900 million building in Manhattan, named it shamelessly Trap Tower, and made it into a top-class commercial building. Why would such people exist? Was he genius with finance? Well, this there totally is that point. That guy ridiculously smart, and his memory is excellent. However, if he were really a financial genius, he wouldn't have gone bankrupt half those times. What he is genius of is interpersonal relationship. While talking, Barton pulled the car into the Lunar University campus. There wasn't a gatekeeper, and no one really paid attention or tried to stop the car. Perhaps class was in session, as there weren't really many people walking around on campus. Hmm, interesting. Why are they in the university? The car entered a narrow sorry. The car entered a narrow. Maybe we should just stop now. I kind of just wanted to finish on the end of the uh, conversation between Barton and Haru, but it still keep going. And like now, I guess they gonna talk about university or something. And for some reason, I really started struggling with words. Yeah, it's not the best place, but still, let's stop today in this place. Uh, so yeah. Next stream will be, I don't know why. So, as you can see, there is will be no stream on this week. And starting from next week, our schedule gonna completely change. I gonna make a new schedule for next week and week for next week on Sunday. For now, I can say what streams became more stable. I mean, it's kind of stable in right now in the sense what it's every 4 days, but starting from next week, it should be on the same day of the week as usual normal people do. And one thing I'm still gonna do, at least I think it to do 2 visual novel streams a week, at least from for start. Now one thing I'm still not sure, like I'm thinking to still do stream like mostly same amount of streams, which gonna mean what it will be stream every day, and I kinda not sure if it's gonna actually work for me. I mean, it's kinda similar right now, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll see on Sunday how when our visual novel streams will be. But in any case, there will be a World End Economica stream on next week. But for now, goodbye. Have a nice time of the day.